Hey, good afternoon. Happy Friday. Welcome back. We're here to do our Friday weekly Richmond Housing Market update. We're here with our broker and owner, Chris Small. He's going to run down what's been happening the past week versus the week before here in the greater Richmond area, as well as certain zip codes. And then we'll bring in our marketing manager, Annie Junker, and our office manager, Andrew Harrington, as well, to ask Chris some questions. So without further ado, Chris, how are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing all right. It's pretty busy out there. Everybody thinks that we're all dead because of COVID-19, or not dead, but dead in the water. And it's as busy as any general March, April, or May day in the best economies ever. Currently, in this past week, there were 678 houses that went under contract in the last 7 days, as opposed to 692 last week. So pretty much keeping pace within a few. Right now, there are 3,883 houses on the market. So if you run the numbers about the amount of inventory, it's a little bit less than 6 months of inventory. And over the past week, there have been 405 closings. And year to date, there were 5,211 closings. So we seem to be keeping pace with previous months during the COVID-19, and now our new wrinkle in Richmond, the protests over the last 2 weeks. In Zone 10, above 250, there have been a total of 17 sales this week. And the previous week was a total of 21. And above 250, there are 95 houses on the market. In just the fan area of 23221, there were 3 that went under contract above 250. And the week before, there were 6. And in 2-1, a little bit less activity. There were 2 houses that went under contract in the 22221 part of Zone 10, and versus 1 of last week. So a little bit less. There are fewer properties in 23221 as well. So it's not like it's shockingly low. In 23220, above 250, there were 10 sales, as opposed to the week before, there were only 4. And right now, there are 40 houses above 250 for sale. And then when you break that down into the 2-1 and 2-1 and 2-6 zip codes, there was 1 sale in 2-1 in the past 7 days, between 400 and 800, and there were 3 the week before. So that's down just a hair. So things seem to be keeping pace. We have all the statistics for all the zones in Central Virginia. If you'd like them, just reach out to us and we'll send you a copy. Just shoot us your email and we'll send you a copy. In 2322, or excuse me, in Zone 22, in the last week above 250, there were 32 contracts, as opposed to 35 the week before. So things seem to be keeping pace from a week to week. And in spite of all the uncertainty and crazy stuff going on, real estate sales are moving forward. People need to buy houses, and people are going out there and doing it.
Great. Thanks for all that information. And just like Chris said, if you guys are interested in hearing more or seeing the breakdown, just let us know and we're happy to send that over to you. Annie, how are you? Welcome to our Friday show. I know you got a question for Chris, so go ahead and take it away.
Yeah. So, Chris, so with what we, saw in May and what is, currently going on in June, what do you predict or forecast will happen in July?
Just in general, or with a specific market segment in mind?
Just kind of general.
Well, I think that, May, March was weird. April was, I think the strangest month, and then May things started to unfold a little bit. But what we started to see in April was that, in spite of the fact that everybody was like working from home and their lives had been changed drastically, that the numbers didn't really change that much. And so people that needed to make decisions about real estate were going out there and charging forth. And I think May proved that to continue to be true. And what I've seen in June so far is just more of the same. And I would imagine that in normal years, the market slows a little bit in July because people go on vacation. It used to be, I used to say July the 4th week was like slower than Christmas. But I think because people aren't going to be traveling as much this year, I don't know that we're going to see that dip in the middle of the summer. So, because I think people will still be around and still need to do stuff, and, will be around to do it instead of being on vacation. So that's kind of my hunch, is that July will probably be as busy as June and May because more people are going to be sticking closer to home.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you for that insight. Andrew Harrington, welcome as well. And I know you've got a question for Chris, so go ahead and take it away.
Cool. Chris, I know you touched on it earlier with the protests and demonstrations that have gone on in the past week. So my question for you is, what do you feel will happen to property values in Richmond itself, and especially on Monument Avenue? And have there been any recent sales that occurred since the protests began?
Well, I think in general, what I've seen is that the protests have not really affected the market. The first week of the protests, the first week of June, there were actually 2 houses that went under contract on Monument Avenue. Short market times, like a couple, 3 days, which were engineered a couple, 3 days. It wasn't, they waited 3 days for it, but it was like, we'll look at offers on Monday. And 2 sales back to back that week, right after the Friday and Saturday night protests and the looting and stuff in Carytown. And those 2 sales were actually both within sight of a monument that was the site of some, of the larger protests. So I think that the message that I pick up from that is, people view this as, it is what it is, but it will go away and it will get back to normal. People buy those houses on Monument Avenue because they're big, pretty houses, and they're well built, and they're generally in good condition. And people, they offer a lifestyle that is not available in any other area of the city, including the adjacent Fan District, because there are very few houses that have the scale of a Monument Avenue house. Most of the houses in the Fan are considerably smaller, in the 25 to 3,500 square foot price range, whereas houses on Monument tend to be in the 45 to up to 8, or some are 10,000. There's one that's 25,000 square feet. It's not a house anymore, sadly. but so they're pretty unique properties, and the people that buy them don't buy them because of the monuments. They buy them because it's a pretty street, and whatever changes are made along that street, I think the street's still going to be a very high quality neighborhood, and it's not going to affect value.
Yeah,
so I've heard some people be very negative about it and say how it's gonna drop value, but I don't really foresee that happening.
So I actually have a follow-up to that a little bit then. So do you feel that these homes that are on such a grand scale and are so beautiful, do you think that they sit longer on the market despite the lower inventory?
Not really. The 2 houses that sold up, a week ago were only on the market for a few days. Sometimes larger houses do take a little bit longer to sell, but both of those houses sold in less than a week. And they were kind of the ideal Monument Avenue house. They weren't too big, they weren't too small, they had garages, that kind of thing. So they checked all the boxes. You get something that doesn't check a box. You get a house that doesn't have a garage, or has some bizarre renovations or something like that. It could affect your length of time on market. But those were, turnkey. They were basically what people are looking for when they go out to find a house on Monument or a grander house in Richmond. They gave people what they wanted, and so they sold quickly and at good prices.
Great. Well, just remember, everybody out there, that we are here to help give you the right information. We're using the best tools and strategies to make sure that you get everything taken care of, and we are here to make sure that everything is smooth and easy for you. So if you're looking to move, buy, or sell, give us a call, and we'll get you all set up. And we'll see you guys again next Friday. And thank you for joining us.
All right. Thanks, Andrew, for orchestrating all this.
All right. Y'all have a good weekend.
Thank you.
You. Bye.